Hello, everyone. Welcome to Live from the Tower, your weekly Destiny show. We're a little late on the upload, but we're going to get to it anyway. So without further ado, let's jump right in. We got a good amount to talk about. In fact, I've written it all down kind of here in these notes. These are, don't worry about that. That's for something. It's for something, later I may do. May not. Just stuff I was writing. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Onslaught, which is the new game mode coming with the Into the Light update. We're going to talk about the IGN report and kind of give a brief, big, one of those two, overview just on what we know. There are a lot more detailed videos out there. And then we're going to go over the TWAB and just kind of talk a little bit more about Onslaught because that's basically all they covered. And that's pretty much it. So we're going to dive right into this right off the bat with Onslaught. So now Onslaught is the new Horde mode, or the, I guess you'd call it a Horde mode, that is coming to Destiny on April 9th, I believe. And it's not the entirety of the Into the Light update, but it is kind of what they're showing off as the main game mode. We don't know what else is coming yet. We will know tomorrow. They're going to show us the rewards, which we've seen one of them, which is the Midnight Coup hand cannon and what looks like a reissued hung jury. And what I personally think is we're also going to get the armor that they showed in the key art for Into the Light, which I'll put up on screen in case you haven't seen it in the past 2 weeks. But we'll talk more about that probably in the next episode of the podcast after Bungie goes over the rewards. So what is Onslaught? Onslaught is a wave-based horde mode where you can kind of build these crude-esque, what's the word I'm looking for? Defenses. So it's like a mix of a horde mode meets the forges from Season of Black Armory. Basically, there's this big battery thing in the center of your spawn, and you need to keep throwing batteries at it to keep its defenses up. If it gets destroyed, the activity is over, and that was it. You can build turrets, trip mines, and decoys while you're kind of killing the waves of adds and throwing batteries at this big defense unit. You'll earn a currency called scrap. Don't worry, it's not a currency you're going to take out of the activity. It's strictly in the activity. It's team-based, meaning if one person collects the scrap, the entire team gets the scrap. However, when you spend it, it's an individual purse. So, say your team has 3,000 scrap. It's technically, the way I'm interpreting it, it's 3,000 scrap per player. So your team has collected 3,000 scrap, and you each individually could theoretically spend 3,000 scrap on whatever it is you wanted. So there are... what else do we know so far? Oh, we know that Shaxx is the vendor, which is really cool. I'm really excited to get Lord Shaxx into the game more. And it makes sense from a lore standpoint. So the lore behind Onslaught is basically when Final Shape comes out, every Guardian is going into the Pale Heart. I'm pretty sure, you can go back and watch the VOD, that they confirmed that every Guardian is basically leaving the tower and going to fight the final fight. So we need something left behind to defend the city. So what we're doing in Onslaught is we're building our defenses. We know there's 3 maps, I believe. We know they're all going to be PvP maps. The first one that they showed was Midtown, which is the beta map we got in Destiny 2. It was the initial showcase map for Countdown. I personally like Midtown, depending on the game mode. I know not a lot of people like it. People are theorizing that we're going to get Bannerfall. We could get Twilight Gap. We don't know, honestly. It's all up in the air, but it's really exciting to see. It makes sense Lord Shaxx is the vendor. He's been training us to take territory, to hold down our own territory with control and things like that. And with Saladin off helping the Empress, it makes sense that Shaxx is the one to do it. So I'm really excited about that. I hope we get some more Shaxx dialogue and more Shaxx lore. And the other thing we do know is we are going to get a social space. We don't know what it is. A lot of people theorize it's going to be the Destiny 1 tower. Some people are afraid it's going to be the farm 2.0. They're going to bring the farm back. I wouldn't entirely be mad if they brought Fellwinter Peak back. If you heard that, that was my kittens on my desk. Yeah, if they brought Fellwinter Peak back, that'd be really cool. But whatever they do, we'd still have about, looking at my calendars, I think we have about 2 weeks until the event goes live, because Guardian Games ends this week, which we'll touch on in a moment. And then on the 9th, we do get Into the Light, rather. And like I said, they're going to do 2 more live streams. One is going to be tomorrow at, I believe, 10 a.m. Pacific. And then the next one will be the week before the 9th, which, if I'm looking at my calendar, it'll be Tuesday the 2nd. It will be the 3rd and final live stream. We know tomorrow's live stream is mainly going to be on the rewards for Onslaught. What I assume the last live stream would be, I almost said Vidoc. What I'm going to guess the last live stream is going to be is either it's going to be focused solely on the lore and kind of the vendor and the social space and the characters, or there's going to be more to the Into the Light update, because they're framing this as this is what you're going to do until the final shape. So there's enough here to kind of keep players engaged and entertained for about 2 months, because Final Shape is launching in the middle of June. So that's almost everything we know as an overview on Onslaught. And we're going to jump into the TWAB now from this past Thursday. And the TWAB basically goes over Onslaught in depth, and there's not much else it goes over. So I'm just going to kind of read my notes verbatim, just because I wrote down kind of the major bullet points. So it's a 10-wave activity. On the 10th wave, you fight the boss, and I believe on every 6th wave, you go into a pyramid ship to kind of deal damage and cause havoc. So, like I mentioned earlier, defeating enemies gives you scrap. It's team-wide collection, but it's an individual purse to use. You can get trip mines, decoys, and turrets, and those all can be leveled up to rank 3, each with increasing costs as you go up. And it's really a game mode where you're going to want to manage your supplies, kind of ration. Do you want the level 3 turret, or do you want 2 more level 1 turrets? It's going to be one of those things. They frame it as you can play this game mode without a mic, because there is going to be a ritual playlist version of the game mode, but they do recommend when you get into the harder versions of the game mode, you're going to want communication. You're going to want to bring your friends. So that's on the trap. When you throw the batteries at the big defense unit in the middle of the spawn, that is also going to give you scrap, and they said that's kind of reminiscent of a forge. You pick up a ball, throw it at the big thing. We've done that so many times as Destiny players. It's almost second nature. I did forget to mention on the 6th run, or the 6th wave, when you enter the pyramid ship, you're going to kill some ads, pick up a spark, and you're going to run it to a rift where you can do your sick backflip and dunk on the enemies and make them feel dumb for wanting to challenge the last city. Now, there are bonus objectives which you can do, and the way they framed this as it's going to pull you away from the main battlefield. But if you complete them, you'll get, I don't know if it's only heavy ammo, or if heavy ammo is one of the rewards, but they were like, you're going to get heavy ammo if you go and do this, which you're going to need, which is great because heavy ammo refills your special ammo as well. So if you have a good composition with your team and you guys are just shredding things, you're going to need all the ammo you can get. Now, if you do have your defensive unit, I believe it's an ADU, they're calling it. If it's fully charged, it has a health meter. And if it's fully charged, you get 3 times the amount of scrap that you would normally get. So you're going to want to keep tabs on it. You're going to want to make sure it's topped off, and you're going to want to make sure that the enemies aren't really dealing too much damage to it. You can hear my cat's in here. Where she's here meowing under the desk. So if you hear that audio, that's what's going on. All right, where did I leave off? All right, so there's a ritual playlist, which is going to have matchmaking. We don't know if they're going to keep it past Into the Light. I honestly think it would be a fun evergreen game mode, because one of Destiny's biggest problems is its evergreen content isn't really engaging. Outside of raids and maybe dungeons, not a lot of people are constantly playing strikes. Not a lot of people, PvP's been on and off. Gambit, people have had problems with. So I think Dares of Eternity is a great evergreen game mode. Adding another evergreen game mode would be good, especially if what some people are fearing is going to happen post Final Shape happens, and we'll touch on that in a second. But that is just a standard 10 rounds. You matchmake, you go in, you do your 10 rounds, you get loot. Now, they do have a second matchmaking node, which is more of like a seasonal activity node, where I believe standard is going to have matchmaking, but it's going to be 50 waves instead of 10. So 10, you'll kind of go in, you'll do it, and you'll bang it out real quick and you'll leave. Standard's going to have 50 waves. Same rules apply. And it's also going to have a legendary mode modifier like normal seasonal activities. And the way they framed it was, when you do legendary, you get more rewards for the harder the content. And it equates to a grandmaster on legendary. So that's the kind of endgame content they're framing this as, which again, if they're having it be here for a while, I think is fantastic. We saw what they did with Battlegrounds. They moved everything to the strike playlist. So having this, if it gets folded into the strike playlist, who knows? I would love to see Shaq stay as a vendor, just in case people don't get to do this. Having this set up as the intro to the Final Shape would be really good for players who don't show up to the Final Shape at launch. And the reason why is because once the Final Shape launches, Season of the Wish goes. All the seasonal content we've done is gone, and a lot of that builds up to the Final Shape. So to have, Lightfall happen, see the Witness go into the Traveler, and then, have a little quest step where it says, visit Lord Shaxx in the tower, and then you kick off this Onslaught quest, however long, if there is a quest. But you could kick off an Onslaught quest, and he kind of lays out everything. So you were like, oh, okay, so we're going to build our fortifications. And then once you finish it, then it's like, okay, he has a little line of dialogue in his text box that says, I think we're ready for when we have to go face the Witness. And as a returning player, oh, okay, now I can go do Final Shape. This makes sense. This is cool. I felt immersed in it. I helped fortify my home, and now I'm going to go off to war. That's just my thoughts. Who knows what Bungie's going to do? So, besides that, we know that there's going to be Brave Arsenal weapons, which I believe the Brave Arsenal weapons are things like Not Forgotten, Luna's Howl, the Recluse, Mountaintop. People are theorizing these are coming back. I don't know if they're actually called the Brave Arsenal. If they are, please let me know down in the comments. But if they do come back, I would love to see some other Crucible guns come back, like bring back Redrix. I put a post out the other day that Redrix's broadsword was a gun that I grinded for literally right until the night before Beyond Light and got, because I missed Redrix Claymore, and I felt so happy that I earned this gun, and then it got sunset. I still used it in the opening mission of Beyond Light, but still. So to have another gun like that kind of come back, I think that would be cool. They have said that banned guns from the Crucible will return, which also makes people think maybe Red Death's coming back as an exotic. I don't know, but to drop an exotic like that mid-season that's not tied to anything crazy like that, like Lost Sectors or an exotic quest, that'd be really cool, But we'll see what they'll do. The other things they mentioned in the TWAB that we're gonna get with Into the Light is a Destiny 1 inspired armor set. So here's where I'm a little torn, because the armor they showed in the key art is the Destiny 2 sets from Destiny 2 launch that have been kind of modded out and upgraded and rekitted, and they look great, and I would love for Bungie to bring those armors in too. People are theorizing Destiny 1 armor sets might be the OG from, you know, the box art where the Titan has the fur collar, stuff like that, or the armor sets we saw the trio of Guardians that got destroyed fighting the Witness War. And again, that would all be fantastic and be great. I would love it if we got both armor sets, but who knows with Bungie, they'll give us what they want to give us, but we are getting at least a D1 inspired armor set. We are getting a new social space, which I talked about, and they're going to show off the rewards on Tuesday. The other things they've done are they have a Ghostbusters collab in the Eververse store right now. I'm trying to feel for where my kitty is. All right, there you are. She was nipping at me. They have a Ghostbusters collab. I saw Ghostbusters. It was great. I loved it. I'm a longtime fan. Thought it was a great film. I'm not spending silver on this. I'm sorry. The only thing I would want out of it is the Ecto 1 themed ship. And even then, it doesn't have the Ghostbusters logo on it, which is probably a copyright issue, which is fine. But you get a Papercraft Slimer shell, so it looks like one of the Halloween shells, and you get a Sparrow themed after the villain in the Frozen Empire movie. So that's that. There was a PvP sandbox change where they adjusted a lot of weapons in PvP. I don't have all those notes in front of me. Please feel free to go and read TWAB from last Thursday, which would have been March 21st, and you'll find out all the PvP changes. Some things are supposed to be good. I did read it when it came out, and I watched Aztecross's video on it, so we'll see what happens. I haven't played PvP in a while. I would like to get back into it, but who knows. Speaking of Aztecross, we're gonna touch on what he got, which was an email stating that, you know, Sony wasn't really happy with Bungie, and a lot of things have kind of shifted. A lot of projects have been canceled, and nobody really knows what's going on. Nobody knows if the email's true or not. But then, after Cross released that video, we got an IGN article. Now, I don't have everything. I don't have every detail in front of me, mainly because I'm getting this out so late. So I kind of have a bullet point list, and we're gonna talk about them real quick. So the first thing is that it seems like there's a big shakeup within Bungie, and it's looking like Sony could come in and kind of take the reins in a couple of years. And this IGN report was one of IGN's sources within Bungie, claimed that, you know, they had knowledge of budgets and how things are working, and nothing adds up. None of the budgeting adds up in Bungie, which we know from Sony is an issue. Sony came out and said, hey, you know, we wish management would, you know, do a better job allocating funds and handling their budgets, but the developers are really excited to do this, and it's great to see them want to be creative. So clearly, there's truth to what Sony said in that earnings call. I don't think they would lie. Bungie's been, you know, quick burn rate, which has been confirmed by Microsoft in the past. I don't know if Activision confirmed it at all. So we have another source saying, yeah, nothing makes sense in the books. The books don't add up. Something's wrong. The next thing we know is supposedly, and again, this is all taken with a grain of salt. None of this is concrete, but supposedly Bungie leaderships are looking to grab their bag and pull out in 2025, I believe, 2026, around that kind of time frame. Basically, what they're trying to do right now is get Matter shoved out the door and then, you know, cut their losses and run. And whatever state Marathon, we'll get to Matter. Whatever state Marathon's in, that's the next person's problem. Which, dick move. All right. So the next kind of theory or talking point is Sony's not happy with their investment. But Sony also thinks Destiny is, and this is the quote I've seen, I don't know if it's a direct quote, so don't quote me, but the either direct or paraphrased quote is they think Destiny is lightning in a bottle. Which, I'm going to be honest, outside of the Division 2, which has gone on for 5 years and it's still relevant to that community, I know it's not maybe in the mainstream eye as much. Destiny kind of hasn't been touched. For all of its highs and lows, for all of its curses of Osiris's and Witch Queens, Destiny has outlived a lot of live service games. Anthem, what was it? The Outriders. What was that game that came out during the virus? And Destiny's still kind of sitting on top. So what some people hope is that if it's true and Bungie leadership leaves, that Sony comes in and says, listen, Destiny is still profitable. It's still something we want to pursue. Let's keep pushing you, let's make stuff in that game world, right? So with all that being said, the next thing, oh, my kitty's coming out. What's wrong, mamas? Okay. So the next thing, oh, here, let's see. It's okay. Come here. I'm gonna show Kitty on stream. Come look at my kitty. Look at her. She's so pretty. Pretty kitty, sit and diddy. Can you wave hi? Can you wave hi? Trying to get her. Yeah. That's kind of the thoughts on what's going on with Sony and with Bungie. Now, a fun fact about Marathon. Christopher Barrett's not directing Marathon. It's the former director of Valorant. And again, forgive me, I don't have names and titles in front of me. So please forgive me. So this report from IGN comes out and says Christopher Barrett was taken off Valorant. He's not the game director of Marathon anymore. Immediately after this report came out, the current game director of Marathon, the former game director of Valorant, came out and said he's been directing Marathon for 9 months. Now, Paul Tassi went and did some timeline research, walked into the corridors of time, and he figured out that means right around the time the Marathon Vidoc dropped, which showed Christopher Barrett as game director, Christopher Barrett wasn't on the game directing chair anymore. Now, if you know anything about these kind of Vidocs, you know they're always filmed ahead of time. So what probably happened was it was filmed ahead of time when he was still the game director. It was already in post-production. They made the switch and they said it's not worth doing. Nobody's going to know until the end of the game. Let's just release the Vidoc. Nobody knows what Christopher Barrett's doing. He's got a title now kind of similar to Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy, where it's very vague. It's something like executive creative producer or something to that nature. What Astacross and I are hoping is he's coming back to D2. Because he gave us Rise of Iron. Pretty sure he gave us Forsaken. Like, these guys gave us arguably peak Destiny, right? Minus Witch Queen. What is he actually doing? Nobody knows. So that's stuff that's up in the air. Speaking of Marathon has shifted from a player customizable or a customizable player shooter to a hero shooter. Now, knowing who's directing the game, it makes sense. There were rumors that the initial playtesting didn't go well and certain people weren't happy with it. So you have somebody who's directed arguably one of the better hero shooters on the market. He comes in to now take the helm of game director, and it kind of makes sense that he turns it into a hero shooter. Not entirely bad. I am a little bummed. I personally like games where you have customizable characters rather than operators or hero shooters. And to like many people's points, if Bungie was going to do a hero shooter, they missed the golden goose, which was to do a Destiny one. You have all these characters. You could literally just roster right off the top of my head. Zavala, Shax, Saladin, Elsie Bray, Anna Bray, Marasov, The Crow, Ikora Ray, Cade 6. I said Anna Bray. Petravenge. That's 10. Hawthorne, technically, could be another one. if you wanted to go coalition races, Mithrax, Keitel, Eris, Drifter, I mean, the list goes on and on. So that's what Marathon's doing. It's hero shooter. They're trying to push it out, see what happens. They did have a couple incubation projects. We know that Matter, which also Christopher Barrett was supposedly working on, has been canceled. And it seems it's been canceled twice. Their project Gummy Bears, it sounds like it's been put on hold. Nobody knows what's really going on with that. But that about covers it this week. It's a lot of news. Some of it is verified. Some of it is speculation. We know we're going to get more Onslaught tomorrow, or at least the rewards, which I'm super excited for. I will be tuning into the stream on YouTube because Twitch ads can be a pain when you're not subscribed to any particular channel. But with all that being said, thank you so much for joining us this week. We will have a new episode out Friday morning, probably around 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It'll be on YouTube. It'll be on all your podcast platforms. So if you want to listen to the audio while driving to work, we got you covered. If you want to watch the video on the lunch break and you want to just see me kind of talk, we've got you covered. Don't worry about it. But until next time, fly safe, Guardians.